Okay, good morning, everybody. Sorry there was a delay. It took me a while to get here, and we had some technical difficulties. Okay, hold on. Let's put this back on here. Okay. Somebody just say something so I know we're on. Hello?
Good morning, good
Good
morning.
Okay,
morning, we're
great.
on.
Thank
Good
you very
morning.
much. All right, we're on. Okay, leave it with that. That's perfect. Thank you. We have this great oilam here. It's made up of an empty table and Hilo, my, Sancho here. Thank you so much. All right. He's the best. All right. And thank you all for who joining in the morning. A few items to start, as we always do. We thank Hashem for giving us the ability to learn to do mitzvahs, help bring Mashiach. Now, before I say the usual request for refuah shleimus, last night I went to a very sad shloshim for a young person who passed away. Obviously, a month ago was the shloshim, the 30-day period. And it was a packed crowd here in the neighborhood. Many rabbis spoke, and in the end, the father who spoke said, the equivalent of like Tilim, Achat Sha'alti, Me'ez Hashem. He said, I asked from you, he was looking at the audience, only one thing. He said, do a mitzvah. He said, put on tefillin, say Asher Yatzar. He said, learn something. He said, for the schus of his son's neshama. So I dedicate today's shir specifically to Chanech ben Shalom Baruch. And then, as we usually add other people, specifically, let me just find a refuah shlema to Rabbi Smith's father, whose name I have here again is Tzvi Halevi ben Miriam Edel, also to Naftali ben Menucha Bela, and my son still needs refuah shlema to totally get out of all his recent accident and problems that came along with it. And he's Uriel Gavriel ben Rafael Michael, four angels. Oh, excuse me, ben Rachel Chaya, my wife. Okay, Rachel Baneha. What? I leave down here.
Another angel.
Oh, yeah. And we also obviously pray for Shlema and the return of the hostages that are still in Gaza and anything else that you could think of. And again, just learning today has the dedication to Chanech ben Shalom Baruch. Okay, let's get going. We're on 8066. If the angle is different today, it's because the stand broke and we're trying to jig the phone to still work. Is this we're up to Ove Kochavim with the Yisrael Shapir dummy? Hi, Bastia. Respect to sniffing wine. Okay, I think that's what we're up to. We're on 66B, about the 50, the 1, 2, 3, the fifth line from the top. So, said, with respect to sniffing wine through a Bastia. Okay, this is kind of like a wine cork that has what you might think is a pouring spout through it, but it really is a tube so that the connoisseur of the wine can just smell the wine. You know the way these guys do it. They shake the wine and they smell it. Here, the person doesn't have to touch the wine, touch anything, just goes and gives it a sniff through the ear, through this tube. And what are the implications of that? So it says, Oved Kochavim b'di Yisrael Shapir Dami. An idol worshiper, all right, with respect to sniffing wine through this bastila, for an idol worshiper to sniff the wine of a Jew through, it is fine. So let's say a Jew owns wine. It's kosher wine. And an idol worshiper comes along, the bottle's closed except for the sink, and he's working as the connoisseur, and he's the inspector, comes into the restaurant, sniffs the wine, he goes, yeah, that's good wine. It's okay to charge for that wine, all right? That doesn't make the wine yayin nesach because there's essentially been no contact there, at least from the idol worshiper to the wine inside. He says, on the other hand, Yisrael b'david kochavim, what if the idol worshiper owned the store and he hired the Jew as the connoisseur of wine, and he now smells the wine, all right? Is that an Avera for him? Is it a sin for him to smell this wine, which is ein nesach wine, wine that the idolater is going to use for idol worship? So it's a machlokes, because it's always a machlokes. So Abai says, asur. Abai says that that's prohibited. Okay, the Jew is not allowed to do that. Rava ma mutar. Rava says it's okay. All right, mutar. The Gemara explains. So what's the machlokes between Abai and Rava? Abai Amar Asur. Abai says it's prohibited. Recha Milsahi, because, and we mentioned this. We started mentioning this yesterday because he says the aroma is a matter of substance. What does that mean? Why do we really smell something and identify it as a smell? Because tiny, tiny little particles are actually going out of this liquid into, or whatever it is, into the air. All right, and and it's actually going in our nose, and it's going right to our olfactory bulb and into our brain, and we're smelling it, but it's getting in our system. So it's like drinking the wine, and therefore, Abai says it's prohibited. Now, I got to show you something because it just came to my mind. The other day, my wife pulls me over to the garden. All right, the garden, the weeds, whatever, the grass that's growing in front of our house, which is a combination of nice grass and other grass. This is Florida. It's very hard to. Our grass is wheatgrass to begin with. Let me find this picture, okay? And she shows me. I don't know. Can you see this? Okay. She says, "What is this? I keep on finding every once in a while growing in the garden, and it stinks. I think it's like a decaying animal." So I don't know if you could see that. Anybody know what that is?
Maybe,
I had no
maybe the professor.
I had no idea. So I looked it up by taking the picture and putting in Google. It turns out to be a stinkhorn fungus, some name like that. So if you have that growing, it's actually not a decaying animal. It's a type of fungus, mushroom, whatever you want to call it. It's a fungus that grows into the sponge-like pattern and stinks like a decaying animal. And it attracts flies, and the flies go into the sponge, this, that, etc. So why do I mention that? I didn't touch it. My wife didn't touch it. I eventually had to get rid of it. All right. But boy, did that hit you, that smell. So obviously something went from this physical item into my nose, my nostrils, for me to smell it, and my wife. So that's kind of what's going on here. Lamase, just to give you an analogy. So Rava says it's mutar. Rava says it's still permitted for this Jew to smell the Nasach wine. Why? Rechalav milsahi. Because he says that aroma is not a matter of substance. So he basically holds that the smell in the air, all right, the perfume, good or bad, whatever, is not substantial. You smell it, but it's not a physical item. So that's the difference between Abai and Rava's interpretation. So Amar Rava. Rava said, "Mina minallah derecha v'lo klimhu." On what basis do I say that the aroma is gornish? It's nothing. It doesn't have substance. This nan, because he learned in the Mishnah. Finally, we're going to bring a quote from a Mishnah. Yesterday we kept on bringing the last 2 days prices off the shelves. Now we're going to bring a Mishnah, which means it's prices of Mishnahs too, but they're lone Mishnahs. They have no Gemara to it. Now we're going to bring a Mishnah. Obviously, that Mishnah does have the Gemara to it because we're calling a Mishnah. So what does it say there? Tana shisiko b'chaman shel truma. It's the case where an oven that when fired up with the cumin of truma. Okay, cumin we know is a spice. It's made from a plant, but here they're kind of referring to it as they're using the initial cumin leaves or plant leaves to fire up this oven, like as if it was little branches of some. Vava boas apas. And then someone goes and bakes a bread in it. So the question is, he says, "Hapas muteris." The bread is permitted for consumption by a non-Kohen. So catch the analogy here. We're not talking about yayin nesach. We're not talking about forbidden foods. We're talking about an oven where the initial aroma that was in there was made by an item that was truma. All right, truma, 1/5. It's something that somebody gave to a Kohen, and it was 1/5 truma, 2 in 100, which is 1/50th of his produce. That's the first thing you give and sanctify by directly giving it to the priest. He says, now you're not allowed to benefit from truma unless you're a Kohen, unless you're a priest or the family of a priest. You can't benefit. And yet here we're saying that this oven had a benefit in the sense that the fire was started from something that was truma. And therefore the question is the pot of bread, not the pot, but the pot, the baked bread, that's funny, allowed, he says, or not. Now, Rubber said, remember, Rubber said it was allowed. His opinion, he's bringing this Mishnah, right? And then go back. Uh, yeah, I think he's the one who's bringing it. And why is he say, yeah, it's permitted. He's trying to bring this as a proof. Lefishein tam kaman elarecha kaman. He says, because there's no taste of cumin in the bread, just the aroma of cumin. So obviously he holds that there's no substance to the smell. And if you hold that there's no substance to the smell, then it can't infect or affect the item in question, and therefore it is still permitted, but merely in the aroma of cumin. Thus, we see that an aroma of cumin is not considered a matter of substance, since the Mishnah permits a non-Kohen to eat an aroma of cumin. So how's Abaye can answer this? Because Abaye said it's not allowed, because he held that the smell and aroma has substance to it. Abaye answers, Shani Hashem the Mikla Isura. It's different there. That case that you brought from Mishnah is different. For the prohibited substance that's been burnt is no longer existent. Interesting answer, he says. You know why it's allowed? It's allowed because once you burnt the truma, cumin, he says, it's not around anymore. Or if it ain't around anymore, ain't nobody else here. So, there's nothing that could possibly affect it. So there's an aroma in the air still. No, there's an aroma in the air, he says, and he doesn't know that the aroma has any substance. So he's saying there's no substance there because the substance had been, the item that had substance to it was burnt. And he doesn't know that the stuff that's in the air, the aroma, has any substance. Okay, further. The Gemara suggests that this issue, debated by Abaye and Rabba, has already been debated by Tanam. So he's saying, Abaye and Rabba, what are you wasting this time on this machlokes? This already has been debated. Says Amar of Murray. Oh, Murray, I love when he comes up always. Right. Amar of Murray. Rav Murray said, Kidditznai, as it was learned in the following dispute amongst Tanoim. Haroda bas pas chama. He says, if someone removes hot bread from an oven, I love hot bread, all right, and places it at the mouth of a cask of truma wine. It's a very similar situation, right? So it's right by an open cask of wine that would be prohibited to a non-Kohen, a non-priest. Why? Because it's truma. It's part of that sanctified wine, 2 in 100 or 1/50 that went to the priest. Rabbi Meir Osir. Rabbi Meir says you can't consume that if the non-Kohen, which sounds very similar to Abaye. All right. Rabbi Yehuda Mater, and Rabbi Yehuda says you're allowed to consume it, which sounds very similar to Rava. And that's why they're saying, hey, they've had this machlokes already. They've already argued this out. All right. No questions. We got so far to go. Rabbi Yossi Mata B'Shel Chitin. So Rabbi Yossi permits it in the case of bread made from wheat, only when it's wheat bread. V'Osir B'Shel Se'orim. But he forbids it in the case of barley bread. He says, because barley bread draws the smell in and would not then be permitted. My love, so if that's the case, now he says, now, is it not that these Tanam argue about the following point? So they're going to try and narrow it down. What's the machlokes really about? What is the argument? The Marsav Arecha Milsa, he says, isn't this argument that holds whether or not the matter as substance or not. Now he's coming back to the Abaye and Rava case. He says, Umar Sabarecha below Klumhu. And Rabbi Yehuda holds that the aroma, even though we say Rava, but in that case, Rabbi Yehuda holds that the aroma has no, it's nothing. It's worthless, which is the point of disagreement between Abaye and Rava. It gets a little confusing here, so just go with the flow for a while, and then it'll settle down in you. The Rava Vadai Tanaihi. According to Rava, this issue is indeed a matter of dispute between the Tanaim. Labai mi lema Tanaihi. But according to Abaye, is it necessary to say it's a matter of dispute between the Tanaim? Malacha Abaye. Abaye would say to you, all Tanaim agree with him. La miyitma Allah, for it was not following. For what's not the following stated in reference to that Mishnah. Abaye's now bringing a reference that was made regarding that Mishnah. Amar Rabba Bar Chana Amar Reish Lakish. Other rabbis, what they say, Rabba Bar Chana said in the name of Reish Lakish, Befas Chama B'chavis Pesucha. We were dealing with hot bread in an open cask. So it's now at the top of 67a. Well, hot bread now it smells good. Why does it smell good? Because you're getting the aroma. Then now we're obviously saying that the aroma is something. What?
Aroma's nothing.
What?
Aroma's nothing.
No, don't say you're going to confuse people more. We're obviously getting something. He says, and it's next to wine. So if it's usra, if it's prohibited because it's next to an open cask, we're saying that the aroma of the wine can be sucked into the hot bread, he says. But with respect to cold bread and a corked cask of wine, so what if you have cold loaf of bread and the wine barrel next to it or the bottle is corked? So he said, respect to that case, everybody agrees the bread's permitted. Why? Because there ain't no way that the smell can permeate one to the other. The wine can't get out of the cask. The bread is cold. It has no suction power unless it's hot. So where's the machlokas? Because there they would obviously agree. So they disagree only with respect to hot bread and a cork cask of wine. The fastzonenes for chabis pesucha, or respect to cold bread and an open cask of wine. So was he delineating? He says, where is the machlokas? Where's the argument? He says, when one is closed and one is able to absorb, either the bread is hot and the cask is closed, or the cask is open and the bread is cold. So in other words, where you really have to start debating, hey, in that situation, is the aroma possibly seeping through the cask and getting into hot bread? Or if the cask is open, but the bread is cold, is it possibly absorbing that thing? That's where the machlokas is. And the Bible say that this case of mine regarding it jumped on me. Hold on a moment. Hold on. I'm sorry. This is the one thing I would say. Hold on. Go bread opens. But Abaye will say that this case of mine regarding the pasticha, all right, which is what we were just talking about before. Hold on a moment. The pasticha meant the little opening, the little straw that was in the cork of the wine. Don't show me anything. I have my glasses on. I can't see anything.
No, just give you the Gemara. So
what?
I was going to give you the Gemara.
No, I'm fine. I'm on the place. Thank you. Kifas chama. Shoot that guy. No, I'm just joking. All right. Kifas chama v'chavis psucha dami. Right. It's analogous to the case of hot bread and an open cask of wine. All right, where all the Tanam agree that the aroma is forbidden. All right. So again, it seems that the previous cases of the Tanam arguing are analogous to the case of Abaye and Rava specifically where you have this straw that can be smelled. And the question was raised, if a Jew was hired by an idol worshiper as a connoisseur to tell him if the wine is good, and he smells the wine without touching it through this straw that comes up in the ear, that one held forbidden, one held not forbid. The Gemara cites the clause of the Mishnah that reads, Zara cloud. So this is the general. Kol shebarnasa b'nasa and tam. Now we're going back to the original thing we learned the other day. Then in general, whenever flavor is parted by the forbidden substance and it's to one's benefit, it is prohibited. This is what we said the other day, that if we were discussing min shebemin, like in like. In other words, two substances that are alike, min she'eno mino, like, or a type that is in something that's really not the same kind. And then we had the machlokas of Abaye Rava, where do you hold masho? Abaye held a little bit in similar substances, min shebemin. I can't believe I remember this at the moment. Okay, but Rava, I believe, said no. It depends whether you still taste it, all right? And if the taste is already gone, you don't know, then you go by 1/60th. And that really was for min shebe'eno mino, and then when the whole machlokas, and look back if you want to really go over it, all right? So we're now saying, what was the general? That if the substance gave a flavor that was good, you say, this now tastes better with this trace stuff that's in it, all right? Then it's prohibited. Where the flavor imparted by the substance is not for one's benefit, it's permitted, which was the case of vinegar. And now they're going to bring a new case where vinegar fell into split beans. I mean, who would want something bad tasting to go mess up a perfect pot? Right? Your wife made, let's say, perfect soup. My wife makes unbelievable chicken soup with matzo balls. She can't make a bad chicken soup or matzo balls. All right? I think, a pretty decent chulent. No matter what I do, have ingredients, it comes out good. It's probably just chulent. It comes out, it's the Shabbos flavor for chulent. All right? What if you have something that really tastes good to begin with, and then something imparts a bad flavor to it? Nobody wanted that. You never wanted it. So then we apply the cases of how like, not like, mashu or 1/60th, because it's basically allowed, given certain parameters, because you wouldn't want it anyway. It's when it's something that you like. Oh, this is good. Now you might be tempted.
It's the bad one.
What?
Vinegar destroys the taste.
So that's the case here, given when vinegar, yeah, who wants vinegar and something?
I like vinegar.
This is okay. We're not going Professor loves vinegar. I know. We're not talking about when you use vinegar and olive oil and making a salad, getting fine. We're talking about vinegar that doesn't taste good. This is white vinegar. This is the vinegar you use with baking soda to clean your burnt pot, right? This is vinegar that spills into beans, right. And what would have been tasting good is beans now no longer taste good. So Gemara rules. I'm Rabbi Yehuda Shmuel. Rabbi Yehuda said the name of Shmuel. Hachi Chosa. This is the halacha. Okay. The Gemara cites another example made by Shmuel in reference to the Mishnah. I'm Rabbi Yehuda Shmuel. Rabbi Yehuda said the name of Shmuel. Lo shano el shnafel tach grisin rustin. He says they taught in our Mishnah that the ruling permitted the split beans unto which vinegar fell only where the vinegar fell into hot split beans. All right. They're kind of making it analogous to the hot bread story. All right. If the beans were hot when the vinegar fell into it, then it would definitely be prohibited. But what if it fell into cold beans? The case isn't over yet, right? And then he heated it up, the mixture. Now what's the question? Is it the same as vinegar falling into hot beans, and which would be, nobody would like it? Or is it okay because it was originally cold and then heated it up? Okay, let's continue. It's deemed as if it first had enhanced the mixture's taste, and then in the end it impaired it for Usra. Okay, and he says it's prohibited. V'chein, ki Yasser Brahman Amar Rabba Bar Chana Amar Rabbi Yochanan. They keep on having all these rabbis. They're looking what's going on here. So more rabbis are coming, and they bring this choice. Hey, you know what? Rabban, he came from Eretz Yisrael to Babel, so he's coming from the east to the west. No, he's come from Eretz Yisrael, which is called the west. We always said that's the cowboys. They're in the west. They're coming to Babel. That's in the east. He said to Rabbi Bar Chana in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, Lo shenu ela shnafel tach gris and roschin. It's the same thing he's bringing. He says they taught the ruling in our Mishnah that it permitted the split beans when vinegar fell only with respect to where it fell into hot split beans. I get confused on everything, but he's repeating the same thing initially. But if the vinegar fell into cold split beans and he then heated them up, he said, Nasa Kamisha Hishpiach V'Lev Pagam. It's deemed as if it first enhanced the mixture's taste, all right, and then impaired it afterwards when he heated it up for usher, and it's prohibited. Okay, yeah. Just go with the flow. So you get the idea that it, again with this situation, is it good for the Jews or is it bad for the Jews? Is it good for the food or bad for the food? We must be talking obviously about some dish that started off really good.
Right.
All right. And then did you mess it up or did you not mess it up? The Chachayas and Barbe Shabbatas Pitzipuri. And Rav Dimi continues to report, they had this custom that they would do this an Erev Shabbos in Tzipori, the cardinal's son, Shachlayim, and they called that dish Shachlayim, or which in English it says is cress. So it's not really the same case with the beans that we have, but they had similar type situation there in Tzipori. That's actually how they would pour, I guess, vinegar into whatever they were making there. The Quran makes a stringent qualification of the permit in imparts flavor to the detriment of the mixture. Okay, so what does that mean exactly? Resh Lakish says, no sentam lifkam. Sha'amru, the permit, it imparts flavor to the detriment of the mixture. Remember, we said it's permitted if the added flavor makes it really taste worse. Lo shiyamru kidera zo chasera melech. It's not in a situation where they said, this is missing a little salt. This is missing some spice. This is missing pepper. And then they go by accident or on purpose, drop this stuff into it, which is not allowed. It's from truma or it's not kosher, this and that. And now it tastes good. Oh, now you made it right. Or now it's even worse than it was before. In other words, we're talking about a case where it was perfect to start. And then the spilled item into it, the prohibited item, either made it better or made it worse. Chasera tavlin, or is it that it's missing spice? Chasera tavlin, or is it has too much spice? Elakol she'en chaserim klum. Rather, it refers to any part of the food. This is why I said that is not missing anything. This is my wife's chicken soup with matzo balls. It is delicious. It doesn't. Don't touch it except if you can eat it. But now it still cannot be eaten on account of the flavor imparted to it by the prohibited foods. All right, and that's what the machlokas is about. Okay, the Gemara presents a more lenient version of the qualification. Of course, every time we think we're finished, we're never finished. It's a segue into the next question. And there are those who say, oh, good, we're getting to the bottom of this page. Amar Reish Lakish says, hold on a second. Where are we? Oh, good. We're at 67 at the bottom. All right. Reish Lakish, not saying tam lefkam shamru. When applying that, it says it permits, if it imparts flavor to the detriment of the mixture, that the rabbi said. All right, we'll just kind of recoin. Ein amim kidera zo chasera melech. Again, we're just repeating what we said. We're not saying this is a case where we say it didn't have too much, it was missing some salt. Or Yisera melech, or had too much salt. Chazera taflin, it's missing spices. Ela hashta mia ha pagma. Rather, again, the permit applies if now, at any rate, the prohibited substance impairs the flavor of the mixture. Again, we're talking about there was a perfect taste, and now the stuff that fell in, this prohibited liquid, now makes it taste horrible. Amar Rabbi Abo or not? Amar Rabbi Abo, Amar Rabbi Yochanan. So what did he say? Umamashahu asur. Okay, this is similar to Abaye, all right, who said if it's the same masho, all right, any mixture in which a prohibited food's flavor and substance are present is prohibited. Velokin alav, and what's the punishment? Malchus, lashes, vizel kizayas bichtei achilas pras. Now we're going to take that and move further. Under which case is eating that prohibited item that the person who ate it liable to get lashes. Okay, lashes are the Malchus, the 30, 40,
Minus
well,
one.
40 minus 139 lashes with the belt. You still have to eat an olive's worth in the time it takes to eat a pras. That's like half a loaf of bread, I think, 4 eggs, whatever the measurement is. Okay, so let's say that's 5 minutes. It's like on Pesach when you eat the chametz, not the chametz, the matzah. You have to eat it with a certain amount of time. You're trying to, eat half a shmura matzah, and then somebody mixes it, and then it's finally digested. Next thing you know, you got to make a sandwich of the same amount. Then at the same time, you're lucky you don't choke on that, but we do it. All right, and then we still that's not the miracle. The miracle is, and then we have room for a whole meal. That's what I can never understand. Anyway, so Tam below muscle. If, however, only the prohibited food's flavor is present in the mixture, but not its substance, now we're mixing in again substance versus not substance, like we had with the nose. So he says, if, however, the prohibited food's flavor is present in the mixture, but there's now no substance, also they ain't looking, then it's prohibited, but you don't get malchus for it. It's very interesting. All right, ve'im riba tam lifkam, and if it added a flavor that was to the detriment, it is permitted. So we actually kind of did a little recap. All right, we said not only you can only get punishment with lashes if you ate it in a specific amount of time, an olive's worth. Again, let's say a half loaf of bread, 4 eggs worth, whatever it is. But if you took an hour and a half to eat that, even though you ate it, you couldn't get malchus. You couldn't be punished with that. Then they go and they mention, or it's got to have made the bread taste better, right? Because if it didn't taste good, then it would be permitted, because obviously one needed it all right? And then it said it had to have some substance, all right, as opposed to no substance. So again, you see how we're trying to combine all this stuff, congeal it together, and make it into a new bouillabaisse. All right, that's kind of the soup. The Gemara addresses Rabbi Yochanan's last ruling and asks, of course, we said something, now let's ask a question. Relating that's in Tom Lifgam Muto. But let him say, why don't you just simplify it? If it imparted the taste to the detriment, it's permitted. Why don't we just make it simple, stupid? Keep it simple, stupid. Kiss. Why does he say the expression added instead of imparted? Okay, the Gemara answers, Kal Mashmalan. This is what it teaches us. The afagav the kamile yacharina the fagma bahade. Even though there are other things that impair with it the flavor of the mixture, and it is only on account of those extraneous factors that the prohibited food impairs the taste of the dish is nonetheless permitted. Wow. Okay, so we're saying, yeah, there's a lot of other spices we put in that's making it a good tasting dish. This is just another, kind of the final spice, all right? And that was put in and it made it taste good too, all right? So it tasted good and now it's making it taste good too. Because it may taste good too, it's not allowed. And he is just teaching that halacha goes along with that which Reish Lakish said in his statement. All right, his last statement. The Gemara infers the halacha from the statements of the Amorim cited above. And even though Daf Yom is not halacha shir, let's see what the Gemara says at that time. Rav Kahana, Divrei Kulam Nimrod. From all the statements of all these rabbis we quoted, Nasin Tam Lefka Mutar. What can we infer? That if it gives a flavor that's detrimental to the food, it is permitted.
Wow.
Right. Amalei Kahana. So Rav Kahana says, Abai said to him, Amalek, Abai, excuse me, Amalei Abai. Abai says to him, Bishlomi Kuladakaye, granted that the halachic inference you draw from all of the aforementioned rabbis, he says, except for a Reish Lakish, he says, that's fine, because that's what they said. But you just said, we learned from all of them. He says, but you didn't learn from all of them, because Reish Lakish doesn't hold that way. There is a dissenting opinion, right? The Reish Lakish. But what halachic inference can you draw from the statement of Rav Lakish? Amru Kama. Why? Reish Lakish spoke only of the permit of impaired flavor that the rabbi said lay lo spherale, but it might be that he himself doesn't concur with it. In other words, when Reish Lakish quoted the rabbis, he was quoting what they hold. It didn't mean that he necessarily holds it. We've had cases like that. We say the rabbi said something, but he said somewhere else something else. He said, yeah, he was just saying that's what they hold. But I don't hold that. Okay, all right. The Gemara addresses Rav Kahana's statement and asks, so addressing Rav Kahana's statement, we're going to ask, is this to imply that there is someone who says that a prohibited substance that is detrimental to the taste is actually prohibited? Because up until now we said if it's detrimental, it's permitted. So Gemara answers yeah, there is. So where's he going to do? He's going to go to the shelf like the other day and take a bryce off the shelf. So we learn in the brisa, okay, by Tanya. Every time it says Tanya, we learn in the brisa. Hatanana means we learn in the Mishnah. Echad nosin tam lefkam. Where the substance, prohibited substance, which falls in, gives a detrimental flavor. Echad nosin tam l'shevach, or it gives it, that makes it taste better. Esher, either way, it's prohibited. Divrei Rav Meir. These are the words of Rav Meir. All right. Rav Shimon Omer, why? Because Rav Meir hold mashu, right? Even a little bit. He didn't delineate exactly whether or not it was good or bad. He says if it's prohibited and falls into thing, a little bit of prohibited in stuff that's allowed, even a little bit, it's not allowed. Rav Shimon Omer was Rav Shimon says, l'shevach asur. If the prohibited substance imparts a flavor to the enhancement of the mixture, it is prohibited. L'fkam mutar, all right? But if it's detrimental, then it's prohibited.
Permitted.
That's Rav Meir. Then it's permitted. So we see Rav Meir clearly forbids a mixture to which a prohibited substance has imparted a detrimental flavor. So we see that there is this dissenting opinion here, the one we just learned now of Rav Meir, to everything we brought until now, because Rav Meir still holds that if it's a prohibited item and it falls in, whether it tastes good or it tastes bad, we're not getting anything else, it is still not allowed. So we go back to the original question when we were questioning, why do we need this machlokes of Abaye and Rava when it was learned previously by the Tanoim, all right, by the original rabbis in the Mishnah? Well, the reason is now we have some new opinions here. All right, I think, okay, Gemara seeks the source for these respective opinions. My time of the Rav Meir. So where does Rav Meir get his opinion from? Gama migeule of the kachavim. He derives it from the law, from the emissions of utensils used by idol worshippers. All right. Oh, sorry, Josh, I said the word right. So he's bringing it from in Devarim. It talks about the Bnei Yisrael come back. They had a campaign against Midian, and they brought back in their booty. They brought back vessels, good pots and pans for their wives to cook with, from the idol worshippers, says. So it says there, Giule of the Kachabim Lana saying Tam Lefkamhu. Are not the emissions of utensils used by idol worshippers a case in where a prohibited substance imparts a flavor to the detriment of the mixture? These remember they had a war. They're coming back. They're coming back more than a day later or something. Whatever food is in there was old food. So it usually gives a detrimental taste to the ironware or utensils, whatever it was that they had in those days. So it's detrimental. I thought we said if it's detrimental, that it doesn't change it, it doesn't make it for worse. So, also Rahmana. But the merciful one, Hashem says that you're not allowed to use those kalim the way they are. Hachanami here too, regards to all prohibited foods, lo shna, there's no difference between the detrimental flavor imparted by them or not. It's still prohibited. Again, those kalim, those utensils would have to be kashered to get rid of what was used. And this is typical. You have a item that was made treif by accident, or in this case, made treif by the goyim. You want to use it. It's more than a day later. You can kasher it by kabolo kalpoto, the way it became treif. That's how it becomes kosher again. It got treif by boiling in or in the oven, hot prohibited items in it. So one has to now reboil and put it on, and undo the way it became that way. So Gemara explained the Idach. And the other one, Rav Shimon, why does he not likewise derive from the Torah's command to purge the Minai vessels that have a detrimental flavor that's prohibited? Because Rav Huna Berei Rav Chia, he rejects this derivation. He'll explain the circumstances of this case. Let's hear what he says. As Rav Huna son of Rav Chia does, the Amar Rav Huna Berei Rav Chia, what did he say? Lo asra Torah ela kedei bas yama. What's the case where the Torah says this pot is forbid? It's only utensils used that day. And it's if it's still within the first 24 hours that it was used, that's the utensil that one cannot use. The lolif gamhu, where the prohibited flavor imparted by the pot is not to the detriment of the food cooked in it. It might still be tasting good, that pot. If one to take that pot and now make chulent tea, say, whoa, this chulent tastes really good. Even though the pot was used 23 hours after it was taken from Midian or had something non-kosher done with it. He says, for idach, but the other person says, Kidera bas yoma nami efsha delo pugma porta. His retort is that the explanation why the Torah forbade only same-day utensils would be insufficient to defend your position, since even in the case of a pot that were used that day, it's impossible that the new flavor absorbing it did not spoil it somewhat. That's what he holds. Okay. Because after a day, we're saying the pots are old, they don't taste good. There's something you're going to have to kasher it anyway if you want to use it. So the whole machlokas is within the first day. Rab Shimon, my time, and what does Rab Shimon hold? What's his reasoning? His reason for ruling that a detrimental flavor is permitted, the Sanya, because he says, bringing off the shelf another brisa, lo sachlu kol nevela legersha b'sharecha. He brings the pasuk in Devarim that we're almost finished. Great, in time for davening, because I only prepared up to this page. Okay, you can't eat any nevela. Nevela is kosher meat that is not deemed kosher anymore to eat. So it was a kosher cow, but it was killed by roadkill. Or they did just shchita, and I guess they found out that there's something not good about it. He says, you're not allowed to eat nevela, but you can give it to the ger, the non-Jewish stranger, who's living in your gates. I guess that's a ger toshav. We learned this the other day, but I don't remember exactly what we learned. But let's just say a ger. We're not talking about a ger, a convert who's now Jewish. We're talking about another type of ger. I think it was a ger toshav. So this implies whatever is fit for the consumption by a stranger, meaning a ger, is called a nevela and is prohibited. But if it's unfit for the consumption of a stranger, it's not called nevela. Rabbi Meir and Rav Meir, why does we're at the top of 68, which I didn't prepare. Rav Meir, why does he not? I still have a couple minutes. Let's just swing it. Rav Meir, why does he not likewise derive from this law that a detrimental flavor is permitted? It's his opinion that the verse comes only to exclude the nevela that was putrid from the beginning. Rav Shimon, and why does Rav Shimon disagree with this? He holds to the nevela that was putrid from the beginning, doesn't need a pasuk, doesn't need a scriptural exclusion to accept it, make an exemption from the nevela prohibition. Because it's like the dust of the earth. Thus, the verse must mean to exclude even the nevela that was originally fit for consumption and spoiled only later on. The Gemara qualifies it, thus just cited this dispute between Rav Meir and Rav Shimon regarding detrimental flavor. And we're going to continue with Amar Ula because I don't want to just read and I haven't prepared this. So we're now up to page 68. We're still behind the fourth line, Amar Ula. We'll continue tomorrow after I've had a chance to learn this more. Please, again, remember for Nachi, for Chanach ben Shalom Baruch to do a mitzvah today for his chus, and our learning is also for Shlema for everyone we mentioned, and do good and they'll all get good. Josh, how'd we do today before we hang up? Josh gave me a thumbs up. That's a good sign. Okay. If there any questions, call me later. We'll call Rabbi Smith in Israel, probably better. All right, take care. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Thank you. Good day.
Bye. Hang up.